Hi everyone, I'm in conversation with Laila Bangash, CDA licensed psychologist and one of our amazing therapists on the Sama Health app. We'll be discussing how therapy helps individuals, specifically South Asians, build stability and nurture their relationships. So thank you so much for joining us, Laila. I'm so happy that we're having this conversation and that you took out the time to be here. Before we get into the topic, I would love for you to introduce yourself to our audience.
So thank you, Manahil, for having me. So I'm a CDA licensed psychologist. I'm originally from Pakistan and I practice here. I practice privately as an online therapist, and I am also associated with one of the centers. It's called Life Work Center. I take in-person sessions there as well. So yeah.
Awesome. So, Laila, today's topic is very important, not only for the mental health aspect of it, but also for South Asians, because when it comes to therapy and we talk about couples and relationships, it becomes a very big area of work. And what we're going to be touching upon in this conversation is truly what are the struggles that South Asians are dealing with and how therapy can benefit them. So, at the moment, based off of your experience, how do you think, not how do you think, what are some of the struggles that South Asians, individuals, males and females, struggle with in their relationships?
Okay, so basically, when it comes to relationships, so one of the what I have seen and what I know about is that one of the things that they really struggle is with communication, how they are communicating with their partner, because apparently it seems fine that this is how I communicate or this is I have been taught to communicate, and it works for them as well generally in life. But when it comes to relationship, and especially when it comes to intimate relationships, so things are a bit different there. So this is one of the things that they really struggle with communication, and the part is unfortunate. I would say unfortunate part is there's something they even don't know about it. That this is where we are lacking, or this is where we are actually struggling. This needs to be addressed. So yeah, I think communication is something that is the first thing when you talk about this and it comes.
That's really powerful because obviously any relationship foundation is how we communicate. And taking a little bit into the South Asian context of communication, how do you see communication change over generations, and how do we really develop these communication skills that we take into relationships?
Yeah, so basically, if we, when you say how communication develops, in my understanding, it's previously, or even it is still, it's the same, that especially it is especially for males, that they even don't know how to communicate emotions. Because for them, this emotion part is something that is for girls only, that is for females only.
Yeah,
So why do we need to
right.
communicate, or why do we need to talk about emotions? Because in their mind, their responsibility is something different. Their responsibility is providing protection, providing
Right.
food, shelter, these basic things, the financial part. But when it comes to actually understanding about the emotions and emotional availability, compatibility, emotional compatibility, so at that point they think that this is not something that our role, this is females role, and they have to do everything, and if there's something lacking, that it's on them, it's on females. So previously it was more of this mindset. Now things are changing. People are getting this kind of awareness that okay, now emotional availability is also something that exists, and that does not exist only for females, but it exists for males as well.
Right.
We can talk about emotions because you know generally and
Yeah.
in relationship you can't eliminate emotions.
Yeah.
It would be like it just can't happen.
Yeah.
So if you try to eliminate it, then things can go in any way, and without even having that awareness that okay, things are not going right because of this particular thing. So now people do have awareness about this, and people are trying. Previously, even I would say that males, they are still occupied with something they have been brought up with, that the financial
Yeah.
responsibility. But now, because females, they are also talking about these things. That no, okay, finances is something that I can also support you with. And because if I can support you with the finances, if I am taking this
Yeah.
responsibility, then you will also take additional
Yeah.
responsibility. So now people are going in that direction, but still, there are a lot of things that people are not aware of. It's not their fault, because when you don't have awareness, you will not do that specific
Yeah.
thing, right? So I would say that this is how it's evolving. That
Yeah.
through through different type of awarenesses, mental health awarenesses, people are getting in that direction. That okay, in relationship, how communication and how emotions are helpful even in a relationship.
Yeah, I really liked what you spoke of, especially about the roles that how they are sort of developing now.
Yeah.
Generationally, we've seen probably our parents in a very different role to what we either get married into or see our peers get married into, and that development also has to reflect in the communication style. And also, what you touched on when it comes to finances, how much of a role does finances play in today's world when it comes to the compatibility specifically for South Asians culture because of how big of a role finances do play? How does it impact the communication and the stability of the relationship nowadays?
So it varies for like if we could look in the culture, but even in the culture, it will varies families to family. Because in certain scenarios, in certain families, even South Asian culture, the culture is same, but family dynamics vary. So even in certain families, they do promote, they do support that female can be financially independent and they can talk about finances. The couple can talk about finances beforehand, before
Yeah.
even getting into a relationship, about financial independence on the female part. But it is something which is specific or limited to certain families. Then there are certain families who are still of this idea that no, man has to provide everything, so there should be no burden on the female. Their intention is that there should be no burden on the female, because on females there are a lot of other things that they are doing. No one is doubting their intention, but even if they want to provide everything to their females of the house, um, in that scenario what happens is that again then there's a communication, there's a lack in the communication related to the finances, related to how female want what
Yeah.
female wants actually. So today, in my understanding and experience, females do want financial independence. But when you are in a kind of relationship where they feel that no, this is my responsibility and your responsibilities are different, so though the female is taking all the responsibility, she is doing everything, but when she's lacking here in the financial support,
Yeah.
so it's something that builds frustration, to be honest. Because why frustration? Because if we can't compare today's a woman with the women from our older generation. They are different in all the aspects. So when it comes to finances, they are different there as well. But what is lacking, what is happening, that we are taking that same school of thought related to the finances that we used to take for our older
Yeah.
generation. And that's where the if you talk about the emotions and the frustration, the resentment, the anger starts to build within a female.
Yeah.
That okay, I'm doing everything, but you're asking me to do everything, like taking care of children, making home, taking care of parents and everything. But when it comes to that, I want to take up this another
Yeah.
responsibility which is related to finances, so no, then I can't do that.
Yeah.
Why? So it then it brings a lot of fear,
Right.
a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
It could be, as I mentioned, it could be frustration, it could be resentment towards your partner, towards your in-laws, or towards the whole culture, that why are they not letting me do it.
Yeah.
So this is something that we don't often talk about it, but this is something that plays major role in any relationship go towards instability.
Yeah. No, very, very right, rightly said. I think what you mentioned here really ties on to the expectations we have going into the relationship. And certain expectations are outdated. So maybe, especially when in our cultures, even today, even though a lot of people are independent, marriages and families are built together. So they're quite group based, and a lot of input is taken from families. Certain expectations are set up by the families, but we're not sure if it's the
Yeah.
same expectations with the individuals that are going to be sharing that life. With regards to the communication aspect, this is something that well, I guess since I'm also from the South Asian background, it is very common for our older generational to glamorize sacrificial behavior and silence. And when we speak about the factor that is biggest struggle at the moment, it's communication. So what we've seen is our parents, grandparents, women in the house, vow to be silent. And when we come to this era where we have the awareness that communication is the key factor that's going to help you build a strong relationship, how do you explain the two and how do you navigate the two worlds?
Yeah, it's a bit tricky, to be honest. But the thing is that you mentioned about silence and sacrifice. So it's about how we take these terms. Usually, silence means, or adjusting means, or sacrifice means that you need to suppress your needs, you need to suppress your emotions, your thoughts. But if we see it from another perspective, silence or a sacrifice could also mean that you know where and when and how to speak. So at certain moments you do practice silence, but in certain moments when you know that I should speak up, so you know how you can do it, or when to speak up for yourself, for your family. So silent necessarily doesn't mean that you have to suppress all your needs and just say nothing, do nothing about you. How I take it, and I believe that how it should be taken, is that knowing when to speak. Similarly, sacrifice. We all sacrifice. It's not just in a relationship, even in general life. Somewhere we sacrifice, we try to adjust, we make compromises to adjust certain things. So that's a part of life, right? But when it comes to relationship, sacrifice and compromise means that again you just suppress your needs, you suppress your emotions, and just do not say anything, just stay quiet all the time. But it doesn't mean that. You can take it from a different perspective, is that how you are introducing new ideas to actually meet your needs. How you are introducing new ideas to communicate with your spouse, so that your needs and his needs both are met. Your emotions and his emotions and thoughts both are heard, both are your struggles, his struggles, both are seen. So this is how I take it, and this is, I believe, that it should be taken to make it a little bit easier and remove that connotation from the word silence or sacrifice, that negative connotation, that which basically builds more frustration.
Yeah.
That's why I have to only compromise. I'm not saying that it's only for females, but it could be for males as well. That why do I have to compromise on a certain thing?
Yeah.
Why can't I go out with my friends? I have this constant pressure of providing to my family. So compromise and sacrifice could be, that it's for them as well. They, males are also compromising on their life. They don't have that same life after having kids, or after getting into an official relationship. So I believe that the connotation should be changed. It's time to change the connotation so that it can broaden, it can leave some room for a couple to actually think out of the box, actually try new ways to connect, while knowing about their culture, and respecting the culture, and at the same time making some space for themselves to have a stable and healthy life.
Yeah, that's super powerful. I caught one thing that you mentioned about, which was change. I think this is something that's a big factor when it comes to getting into a formal relationship, is that it is a period of change. In your experience, what is the kind of change that a South Asian female, South Asian male, specifically them, most commonly they go through emotionally or even with their identity, in your experience? What are those changes, and how do they, well, what is the effective way to go through those changes without feeling like I'm leaving my former identity behind?
Yeah. So when it comes to South Asian culture specifically, so we see that in certain families, when certain families are nuclear, right? And certain families are joint families. So if any person, especially because females have to come to another house, so if they leave their nuclear family where there were just her siblings and parents, and she joins in a family which has chacha, mama, and everyone, so that's it, where that's get a little tricky. The marriage, this concept itself, that she's leaving her house that she has lived for a very long time, and now she's joining someone else, she's coming to another house, this concept itself, it's something that very overwhelming, right? You have to adjust, or you have to discover your husband, your other, your father-in-law, mother-in-law, your husband's siblings, and then on top of them you have to now understand his extended family as well. So that's something that is a major transition for females, and it gets really tricky for them. other than this, if that's if this happened, then other than this, it's about the expectations that there are multiple expectations. Even if the in-laws are keeping their expectations low, if they are very, a kind of people that you don't feel like that you are in your in-laws, you are still in your parents' house. And there are many people like
Yeah.
this. There are many in-laws like this. But the societal and cultural pressure is so
Yeah.
much that that chacha mami will ask
Yeah.
about certain things that your mother-in-law will not be thinking of. And they will put something in their mind that, oh, your
Yeah.
your bahu, your daughter-in-law didn't do that. So it's that it's not only about understanding or navigating the in-laws, the immediate in-laws, but also the extended family.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets tricky. And when it comes to marriage or entering into a relationship, so sometimes the male, even that male has lived his life, all his life, with his family and with his extended family, but sometimes he doesn't know about them.
Yeah.
So certain experiences are new for him as well.
Yeah.
And that, okay, in this situation, how would my mother react, how would my sister react, how would my xyz react? So it's a learning period and transition period for both of them.
Yeah.
I can't say that it's a transition period only for a female because she's leaving one house and
Yeah,
coming to
yeah.
another. It's a period for both of them. It's as new for male as it is new for female. So this is something that is new, and that is sometimes, for people, they do struggle here. They do try to understand, or they really struggle that what to do in this situation. And then they feel overwhelmed. They feel there are different range of emotions that they experience, and they actually don't know what's happening. It was a very happy event in my life. How it turned to be so overwhelmed and so frustrating.
I like
event
how
for
you
me.
say it's overwhelming, because I think we don't use that term for marriage. There's also this overly positive aspect to it, which is it's the biggest day of your life, most important aspect of your life, probably generationally it has been. But what we don't highlight it is that it is an overwhelming experience, and if you do feel overwhelmed for it, it's not because of the other person or because of their family. It's just because it's change, right?
Yeah,
As
it's
it
a
is.
change. Yeah, the change itself is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
it's whatever the kind it is, but it's overwhelming because it's a change.
It's a change, exactly.
So
I think that it's putting reality into place, right? That no matter, and this applies to even those who are not moving into families, extended families, or they're living separately, maybe like especially South Asians, let's say in the UAE, they're living away from their families. Both sides are living away from their families, but they still have the, as you mentioned, involvement from external people. And in the context of, let's say, UAE, that's very prevalent because both families are now not particularly here. Most people, their extended families are at least not here, but now the connection is more because you're always on. So they are constantly asking you of what's happening, what's not. So that involvement is there. So how do you think that same thing works with, let's say, South Asians in a third country, that their families are not involved? What are the challenges that they feel post marriage, specifically those who get married in their host country and then they immigrate somewhere?
yeah, so it's something really interesting because it's always like if you are getting married in your home country
Yeah.
and people know that you will move
Yeah.
to another country with your husband, you will live independently. So
Yeah.
it's always a positive thing. It's a good thing. Because you are not living with your in-laws, so
Yeah.
what are your struggles? Struggle is here. I'm living with my in-laws, or you should not have any problem, anything like that, because you are just your husband. Come on, you can't deal your husband. So it's these are multiple things that we do here.
Yeah.
People do here, and but the thing is that the actual struggle is for uh, for people who are coming here, and for a female, the actual struggle is that she is, if it's for she's leaving her home for the first time, her country, that she is leaving her home and coming to another place first time, and now she doesn't have to understand her in-laws or one family. Now she has to understand the whole new culture and the country, and how things are going here. And with that, she has to understand her husband as well.
Yeah.
So it's challenging for her in that way. You are coming here, you're trying to make home, you don't know about things, you don't know about, the norms, the patterns, everything. So you will learn those things as well. You will understand those as things as well. And then you will make your home here. And there's no one to guide you. So that guidance the kind of guidance that is required to actually make home is something that is lacking here when they come from their
Yeah.
home country. Otherwise, I'm not saying that this is, because every place, even if you are with your in-laws, you are without your in-laws, every place, every situation has goods and bads.
Yeah.
They have advantages, they have disadvantages. So here, someone who is living here and came from their home country, so the struggle is basically, learning the whole new country, learning about it. And other than this is something that happens when they get married. But when you start to have children, you are having your first child, So the kind of support that is
Yeah.
required is you don't
Definitely.
have it, right? Even if you have it, then there are multiple issues.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
sometimes they can't come here, your family can't come here, you can't go there. So,
Definitely.
these things, they do play major role. We say that this is something कि बच्चे तो सब नहीं पैदा किए हैं,
Yeah.
शादी भी सब नहीं की है, but what happens is that what people don't understand
Yeah.
that when at their times there was a huge
The
family.
village they promised.
Yeah, the village, even though they were very annoyed from that
Yeah.
village, they are very
Yeah.
frustrated in that moment that sub
Yeah.
sab saath hi hain, but that was a huge support.
Definitely.
And currently, when you don't have that, then the loneliness that it brings, and these things, the loneliness, the no help available, these things, they take a toll on your relationship as well. Your relationship completely changes after having a child. So these are the things that couples really struggle, and it's not just a one time thing that I say
Yeah.
that ek dafa ho gaya and that's it. No, then the kids are growing up, they have
Yeah.
different stages, so it will, it's something that keep on going,
Yeah.
keep on happening, and in different forms. So in couples, we always hear that, it's love should always be there, and if the specific criteria is not met, this means that there's no love. But it's not like that. In relationship, love transforms. It changes its shapes. Initially it may be in a different shape. After having kids, it may be in a different shape. When your kids are like 5 years or 10 years, it may be in a different shape. But what is important, that it should be there, you should feel it, a couple should feel that it's there, even it has transformed, but
Yeah.
it's there. If you feel it that it's there, then that's fine. But if you feel that it's not there, even though apparently everything is fine, I'm having a happy life, no financial issue, alhamdulillah, kids are fine, everything, but there's something lacking. This love is not present, that should be present. It's not that what I expected, but a basic thing, because there are multiple things that marriage can't, it can't go on without that, but love is something that it can't go on without, marriage can't go on without that as well. So yeah.
That's really powerful that you said that, because as you mentioned love, I was thinking about the South Asian context. Rarely do I hear that love is the most important thing in a relationship. Generationally we've seen marriage to be an alliance more than an individual decision.
Yeah.
Because that was how the world was, but now we have become more individualistic. I would love for you to explain what you just said about love being the most important part for marriage in the context that South Asian people can understand, perhaps even words that make the translation of them more appropriate, because we may have heard pyar kafi nahi hota, right? So what is it outside of the pyar that keeps South Asian couples on the right track?
So when it comes to specifically love, we do hear कि काफी नहीं होता, and there should be other things. In my understanding, as I mentioned, that it transforms. So it transforms into a kind of care that you still feel for your spouse. You still feel towards a connection that you feel towards your spouse, that emotional connection, that physical connection that you do feel. Yes, it reduces its intensity.
Yeah.
The kind of emotions or a physical attraction that you feel for your spouse, that does reduce. But it doesn't mean that it should be no attraction, or it should not be there just because you had kids. It there in in our culture, in South Asian culture. So what we more focus on, is he fulfilling your responsibilities?
Yeah.
Yes, he is. What about physical responsibility, physiological responsibilities? Yes, he
Yeah.
is or she is. But what about those emotional
Yeah.
responsibilities or those emotional, needs?
Yeah.
Is he or she fulfilling those needs? So it's about v- being very conscious in a relationship and know that what the other person actually wants, not just bombarding the person with something that he or she doesn't want, actually providing something, listening. It's about listening to the other person, understanding, and understanding comes when we actually listen, when we actually try to see the person, what
Yeah.
the person is trying to say, what the person, even if the person is not saying something, but you see that person, all your
Yeah.
day, most of the day. And so you get that, you understand that, okay, this is maybe she wants, and even if you don't know, you ask.
Yeah.
It's There's no harm in asking.
Yeah.
So these all things, because for us that love, the word pyar is a very fairy tale thing.
Yeah.
But in reality, if love does exist, and it transforms.
Yeah.
So if you see it that way, that it transforms, it changes into care,
Yeah.
it changes into seeing you, hearing you, actually meeting your emotional needs, then it's different. Pir pyar, it is one of the most, it is one of the things that is actually required
Yeah.
with other things.
I think it's your definition of love that
Yeah.
needs to
Yeah,
mature.
exactly. That needs to mature.
Yeah.
And you can't experience that same kind of love that you used to experience in your 20s. You will not experience that in your 30s or in your 40s, right?
Yeah.
So it will definitely transform,
Yeah.
because physiologically you are growing up, your
Yeah.
needs, your everything are changing.
Yeah.
Basically they are getting more mature in a way that it's not the same now. There are no butterflies, but it doesn't mean that if there are no butterflies in the stomach, it does not exist, or it
Yeah.
should not
Yeah. Yeah.
exist.
Yeah. So we spoke a lot about the challenges and the struggles of South Asians navigating their relationships. The main aspect to our conversation is, so how can therapy, individuals who go to therapy, help in their relationships? And obviously you can use examples that you have seen with individuals that have come to you and shared how therapy has benefited them. How does it work? How does therapy work, and in terms of the context of relationships?
So basically, what happens is that for therapy, even in a relationship or outside the relationship, therapy helps with making you aware of yourself. There are certain things, there are certain patterns, whether they are coming from generations or anything. Sometimes people are not aware of that. So therapy helps with that. And when you are aware of your patterns, when you are aware of your fears, your insecurities, so you perform better in a relationship, because now you know about yourself, and you can actually explain yourself to your spouse as well, that this is something that I experience, or this is something that I'm coming from. So knowing yourself, it's something that is provided by therapy. And once you know yourself, I always say, and I always believe, that if you want to stay in a relationship, if you want to enter into a relationship, it would be really nice if people start to know themselves.
Yeah.
It could be through any way. I'm not necessarily saying that it should be necessarily therapy. If you feel like that you can discover yourself on your own, yes, do that. If you feel like that no therapy is required, maybe therapy can help me,
Yeah.
do that. But do that. Please know yourself before entering into a
Yeah.
relationship, because sometimes we are carrying a kind of baggage that is actually destroying relationship. And when you are not aware of that, you cannot explain anything to your spouse, and your spouse will always be wondering what happened, what is happening, because your spouse is handling his or her own insecurities, own fears, own things as well. So now let's not burden the spouse to understand your insecurities as well. So I think both persons, male and female, they both, when they are entering into a relationship, they should make this effort towards understanding themselves, understanding what is important for them, what are their insecurities. It could be anything. There are
Yeah.
multiple things that as a person you experience. So when you go in a relationship, that will really help you to have a stable relationship, because you know yourself, so now you have room to actually understand the other person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you don't know yourself, and if something gets triggered in your spouse, and you are also triggered.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't handle what your spouse is going through. But if you are stable within yourself, you will be able to handle your spouse as well. And if it is coming from both sides,
Yeah.
that both feel stable enough that to be in a relationship, then it will really, I'm not saying that there will be no conflicts or there will be no disagreements. Yes, they will still be there, but they will know how to handle it, actually, how to resolve the conflict, how to communicate in a relationship.
Right.
So this is, I would say, that start from yourself and then go towards having that relationship and actually going to a therapy for couples. We call that we need couples counseling. So how can a person go into a couples counseling without actually knowing him or herself?
Yeah.
And even if you go into couples counseling or couples therapy, so the couples therapy will also help
Yeah.
one person or the other person both to actually
Individually.
understand themselves individually as well. But the focus would be more on the relationship. But here, if you go to individual therapy, so the focus would be on you first and then on the
Yes.
relationship.
Right.
So yeah, this is something.
That's great that you mentioned, because I believe definitely you should know yourself before you join your life with another person. But I would love to know, for couples that are already, they maybe weren't aware of therapy when they were getting married, and maybe 6 years down the line now, been married for a long time, but they're not sure whether therapy is something they should try if they feel that there is tension between the relationship. Firstly, how should they view therapy? Because we know, especially in our cultures, that it's viewed in a very skewed manner. We tend to be more private about our relationships, and we don't like to share. So one, the stigma, and two, how can couples benefit from this by just the removal of the stigma?
Yeah. So it's something very difficult for South Asian people to actually pursue therapy, to be honest, even if either it's individual therapy or couples therapy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of hesitation, especially on the male's part.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of hesitation because they don't, they can't talk about emotions. They don't have that capacity to actually talk about emotions, and for them it's very funny. It seemed very funny to them that why do we need it? And I'm perfect. I'm fine. I don't have to feel anything,
Yeah.
right? So it's very difficult for South Asian um, men to actually pursue therapy. Um, in my understanding, if we talk about couples, then you s- if you are not willing to do something, if you are not willing to pursue therapy, no one can push you. And even if somebody pushes you, then you would the consistency and the willingness is not there, so it will not work. Because for therapy, what is really important, that your own willingness,
Yeah.
how willing you are to actually work on yourself. Because in therapy you do face your demons, you do face a lot of things that you don't want to face.
Yeah.
And you don't want to seek therapy for that. So you are avoiding therapy because of those demons and because of those things, and now you have to sit in a chair and actually talk about it. So we can't expect somebody to actually pursue therapy very happily.
Yeah.
That's completely all right and understandable. But what about your life? What about in general, how your relationship or how these things are affecting your relationships, your life?
Yeah.
If you look into that, and if you actually want to make it better, make your life better in general, make your relationship better, make your relationship better for your kids, because kids do take influence from the parents and how they are interacting with each other. Then what's I always have this question, from my, if from people, or if anybody in visual therapy, there, what's bad about this specific thing, even if you try it, because even they, if they are avoiding something, there must be some thought behind it, and that thought is valid. We can't say that no,
Yeah.
this is just a cultural thought.
Yeah.
For them, that's valid. Yes, it is coming from the culture, it is embedded in the culture, that's why they are thinking this way. It's not a wrong thought, that's a very valid thought. So address that thought. That what is bad about it? What is it that is discomforting about taking therapy, or going for couples therapy or individual therapy? So before entering into that, maybe if you have any fears, any thoughts, maybe address that. A couple can address, both they can sit together and they can address this thought, that what is it that is stopping us from trying something
Yeah.
which might benefit. If it's not if it will not benefit, it will not do harm. So it's not something that will do harm to your relationship, because you are sharing something in a very confidential way.
Yeah.
So either it will benefit you, either it will do nothing. So in my understanding and in my experience, so why not try something new and see, maybe it works? Because whenever we are in a relationship, we try to do everything to save our relationship.
Yeah.
We try to communicate differently. We can involve somebody or anything. So this is also something that you are trying to save your relationship, doing to save your relationship. So this is something that they can try. We can't really push somebody to actually go for it,
Yeah.
but an encouraging statement would be that try. Maybe it benefits you, and if it doesn't benefit you, it will not do any harm for you.
Yeah, that's a very good one. That's a very nice way to, welcome them into it, because it does feel quite pressurizing when you are not sure and feels scary. But yeah, when you approach it as something that you can try, it feels less confrontational as well.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about something when it came to couples who may need therapy. In your experience, what are some of the signs or situations that couples may be going through that are sort of like indicating or an alarm bell ringing that they should look into therapy? Those could be subtle things, not like necessarily the big T's, but small subtle instances or indications that are kind of your relationship telling you that you need help.
So one thing is that even if you feel that your relation no okay, so we frame it this way, that nobody thinks that my relationship is perfect,
Yeah.
because no relationship is perfect, nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
So there are certain conflicts, disagreements that is there. If they are those disagreements, those conflicts are fine to you, then that's fine. If you are able to handle those conflicts
Yeah.
without having much destruction, without affecting your kids, your kids are not getting affected by it, your home environment is not getting affected by it, that's fine, that's completely all right. Even on top of it, if you want to you want to be conscious in a relationship, you can still seek therapy without having a
Yeah.
major problem, just to learn how to be conscious in a relationship, just to learn ways how to better navigate these conflicts. So therapy could be, in that situation as well. But a point where you actually feel that there's something majorly wrong and that needs to be addressed, then when your home environment, when your kids are getting affected, when your relationship, apparently it may seem fine to people, it may seem fine, they are living, they are, there's no financial problem, their kids are fine, but you don't feel that connection with each other, and it's there for a very long time, like you can't feel that connection, you can't feel that, that bond with each other for a very long time, maybe that is a time where you can seek help, because it gets very difficult to live with somebody where you don't feel that connection, and then it builds resentment. So, and sometimes you are feeling that resentment, you are feeling that, there are fights, there are anger, there's a very disturbed home environment, but you can't pinpoint that what is it.
Yeah.
Everything apparently seems very fine, so what is it? Why am I not connected towards my husband?
Yeah.
But the interesting part is that in our South Asian culture, this thing that the baad mein shaadi ke baad to love is not something that that is necessary. What is necessary is that whether you're having kids or not, whether your financial responsibility he has fulfilled or not, or finances theek ja rahe hain nahi. So these are important things. So it is so normalized at a cultural
Yeah.
level, the not having a connection
Yeah,
with your
that's
spouse,
exactly.
not having that
Yeah.
intimate connection,
Yeah.
intimate bond with your spouse. It is so normalized at a
Yeah.
cultural level that you don't feel it,
Yeah.
that you feel that everything is fine.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
But actually, this is this is not fine.
Yeah.
You know, you what will you do with that money,
Yeah.
or you know, with something that is important for our culture? What will you do with that if you don't feel like doing something with your husband? Like, you don't feel like going out with your husband, you don't like anything, traveling,
Yeah.
spending time with your husband.
Yeah.
So this is something that is very important to be aware of, what is actually normalized in our culture and what is not right. You know, that is normalized, but it doesn't mean that it is
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you see it from that lens, then it is something that the first thing should be, again, the awareness. If you have the awareness, and when you have the awareness that this is not right, then
Yeah.
only then you can go and seek therapy.
Yeah.
If you feel that no, everything is fine,
Yeah.
why do we need it?
Yeah.
So then you can never go, even if things are not
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because even when I think about signs, right, I imagine the typical signs that, you're arguing a lot, or you are having frequent fights, or there's a financial, or there's a transition. Maybe you just had a child, or maybe you lost
Yeah.
a child. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many aspects. But the reality is that your perception to how big or small an incident or a change or a struggle is individual.
Yeah.
For someone, it's not like, it is an indication that now things are not okay. But if you have that idea of, but we're together, so it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
As long as we're together,
we
it's
are
fine.
together, yeah. We
Yeah.
have kids and we are together.
And that's, I mean, statistically, you've seen so many marriages, especially in your career. Older women, older men who have probably come into therapy may have shared their life of like, yeah, all good, and many years of resentment low-key building,
Yeah.
because not wanting to take that action, because we didn't know it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, exactly. And it's for them, it's everything seems fine.
Yeah.
They come and they say sab to theek hai, phir kya masla hai?
Yeah.
So sab nahi theek, you know?
Yeah, especially if your network is people from the older generation, which is why we spoke about generational changes as well. If you are seeking advice from people who no longer belong to this generation, and for them it was okay, then you're also applying their okay to this circumstance, which is not okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's about knowing where to stop.
Yeah.
You know, so even if it's like where we talked about that silence, adjusting, you should know where to stop, where you will not take these statements that adjust, try to adjust. I understand marriage is something to have compromise, adjustment. These things are there. If two people are living together, making their life, it's not possible
Yeah.
that, it will be just, everything will be, they will always be on the agreement side. No, there will be disagreements, there will be conflict. But one should know, a person should know when to stop, where to stop, and how to introduce certain ways which help you connect, which actually help you have a stable relationship, other than just adjusting, other than just, compromising because the culture is saying, because mother is saying, because where will I go?
Yeah.
Just fear of where will I go,
Where will
or for a fear on the male part that if I leave her, if I leave my kids, what will my family say? That I couldn't
Yeah.
provide to them, I couldn't take their responsibility. So this fear, so a couple should, or therapy makes you understand, or makes you help see beyond these fears, and see beyond these fears in a positive way,
Yeah.
in a way that helps you build a strong relationship. Ultimately, it will be your choice whether you want to stay in this relationship or not.
Yeah.
Therapy can't decide this for you.
Yeah.
So
And also, no therapist will tell you that.
yeah, no
This is
therapist.
something that I think needs
No.
to be highlighted, because
No.
I have actually heard some people say, when I did share, why don't you, try therapy? It's like, but I don't want to leave him. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not what the therapist is going
Yeah,
to do.
it's not about that. It's about because you know what decision you want to take,
Yeah.
right? So the therapist will only facilitate you with that. Sometimes we want to take a decision, but we are not aware of our inner self, or what our inner self wants. People are so pressurized or occupied with the cultural voices,
Yeah.
that they can't actually see what their inner is
Yeah.
saying to them.
Yeah.
So therapy will only help you understand or discover what your inner self is saying to you. If your inner self is saying to you that stay with him, you
Yeah.
will, no one in this world can separate you from him.
Yeah.
If your inner voice is saying that, just leave him.
Yeah.
Then therapy will just facilitate you with
Yeah.
understanding this.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, the choice will be yours.
Yeah, that's an
Therapy is
important
not to
part.
manipulate or somebody.
Another stigma.
Yeah.
I hope hopefully these stigmas go away, because I think in the era of social media as well, and therapists coming front, and even us having conversations like this, is to sort of give the real life example of people behind therapy are humans just like you and me, and
Yeah.
we are not here to break families,
Yeah.
or this is not a westernized concept that
Yeah.
we're trying to put on the South Asian family dynamic. So yeah, I'm so glad that we did this, and I learned so much. I loved it.
Yes.
Just before we end, I would love for you to share one piece of advice for maybe one for male and one for female in their late 20s to early 30s, who are probably about to begin a relationship. And what advice would you give them before they step into that relationship?
So, in my understanding, is that one thing that they can do before they go into a relationship is that they can try to know themselves.
Mm.
It's not only for relationship, but it's generally in life. When you know yourself, and some people say that I know myself, right? But no, you know your inner voice, know your inner self. Because what happens is that sometimes apparently everything seems fine, and you are ignoring that inner voice that is telling you something. So listen to yourself, listen to that inner voice as well, because when you actually listen to that inner voice, it really tells you a lot of things about yourself, and those things that really help you before entering into a relationship. Because again, in our culture, it's just, बस शादी तो करनी ही है, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
again,
a
people,
destination.
yeah, it's a destination.
Yeah.
It should not be a destination, it's a part of your major life, and it's something that yes, you needed, you wanted, but know yourself before you are entering into this part of your life. That will really help you make space for the other person, because sometimes you do it, you do get married because the family said so.
Yeah.
But when the other person, she's in your life or he's in your life, you really don't know how to handle the
Yeah.
situation. So it's about one, that knowing about yourself, knowing what you actually want, and then also about how you are communicating your needs even to your family. Sometimes you don't want to get married at this stage of your life, but you don't know how to communicate to your family.
Yeah.
So communication is something that I always emphasize, because it is something very helpful in every type of relationship,
Yeah.
whether it's an intimate relationship with your parents. So if you know how to actually communicate, then you will know how to actually listen. Because in communication, it's not just about talking.
Yeah.
It's not just about imposing your perspective on somebody. When you learn actual communication, you learn how to hear the other person as
Yeah.
well. And a relationship would not be very difficult if you know how to hear the other person. And when I talk about hearing, so it's not about hearing the voice, it's about hearing the emotions as well, the emotion that the other person is coming up
Yeah.
with.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That was a very nice end to it. I'm going to leave it at that. It was a very powerful message. So thank you once again for joining us and being on this podcast. I really enjoyed this topic. And by the way, this topic was something that a lot of our community members voted for. Majority people want to know how therapy connects with relationships. And I'm so glad we did this. Laila Bangash is on the Summer Health app, and yes, she has her private practice too. The links and the details will be in the description. You can check her out, and you can always reach out to Summer Health if you would like to be connected to her directly. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for having me.